U.S. Marshal who just transferred back to Montana, where he grew up on a local cattle ranch. In this part of the book, he's just settling into his new position, getting to know his new partner, a man named Kirby Law. MacKay took a right onto 13th Avenue and passed what looked to be a two-story apartment building. In the parking area outside the apartment, a woman stood next to a late model muscle car, an old Plymouth Roadrunner, maybe 1969, 1970 model. She was in her 30s with curly shoulder-length dark hair, wore a tank top and cut-off jean shorts. Looked like she might have weighed all of 95 pounds, soaking wet. MacKay could hear her shouting through the open truck windows. He slowed his truck to a crawl, his senses telling him that something was escalating here. "Eddie, you son of a bitch, you owe me money. Give me my money." Kirby leaned forward to watch the fight that was brewing and let out a low whistle. Whoa, someone is pissed off. MacKay pulled his truck into the parking area. The woman continued to scream obscenities at the man in the Plymouth. And then she reached into the car through the open window as though grabbing for something. The driver seized her arm and began to drive off, slowly dragging the woman along as she tried to stay on her feet. Fortunately, the car wasn't going anywhere fast. And MacKay guessed that with one hand holding the woman's arm and the other on the wheel, the guy was short-handed to shift the manual transmission into higher gear. MacKay figured he'd better put a stop to this and sort the situation out before someone really got hurt. He pulled the truck to a stop straight in front of the car and leaned on his horn, throwing the truck into park. The driver turned to look at MacKay and saw MacKay could see the thought running through his head that, sorry about that, that despite how obviously pissed the guy was, he must have realized that it was a losing proposition. Besides, he had no doubt spent a lot of money and time pimping out that Roadrunner. MacKay quickly slid out of the truck and hollered loud enough to be heard over the car's engine and glass-back muffler. "Stop the car, shut it down, and let the woman loose." He emphasized his point by pulling out the deputy marshal badge that hung by his neck on a leather thong under his t-shirt. The car jerked to a stop, probably 3 inches from the bumper of his new Chevy. The driver opened the door, smashing it into the woman and knocking her down. He then jumped out of the car and grabbed a piece of pipe that he must have had tucked under his seat. MacKay was on the other side of the vehicle from the guy with the pipe and felt relatively secure from attack, but the man could still club the woman who was swearing like a sailor and trying to get to her feet. MacKay reached behind his back for his pistol, when Kirby, who had also jumped out and was closer to the guy with the pipe, took him down in a diving tackle. "Ah, to hell with it," MacKay said as he leapt up on the hood of the Roadrunner, stepped across, and jumped down to the ground on the side where the struggle was taking place. Kirby was holding his own and managed to flip the man onto his stomach and was working to get the cuffs on him, all the while shouting, "Police!" in the guy's ear. Kirby had just managed to get the second cuff locked into place when the woman, who finally had scrambled to her feet, dove on top of Kirby, kicking and screaming. "Let him go! He didn't do nothing! Mind your own damn business!" Her attack in defense of the man caught Kirby by surprise, and he was knocked off balance by the snarling wildcat of a woman trying to claw his eyes out. The driver, now cuffed, took advantage of the situation and began to kick and buck, trying to get out from under Kirby. MacKay finally took pity on his partner, stepped in, and grabbed the woman by the back of her cut-off jean shorts, lifting her bodily off with his partner. He dragged her away, shaking her like a dog, deftly fending off her kicks and wild swings. "Stop your fussing or I'm gonna drop you," he warned. Now that he was closer to the woman, MacKay could see her rotting teeth and the smell of overpowering odor of ammonia, indicating the woman was probably hopped up on meth. The guy was likely her dealer, her boyfriend, or both. Not wanting to get in striking range of her claws, MacKay wished he had grabbed his taser out of his gear bag. Instead, he gave her another shake, dropped her into the dirt, put his boot on the center of her back. "Hold still, or I'm going to let your boyfriend drag you around the parking lot a few times." He looked over at Kirby and had to grin. The younger man's shirt was torn, his pants were covered in dirt, and sweat was pouring down his face. MacKay pulled his handcuffs out and tossed them at Kirby, who caught them with a quizzical look. "Cuff this one while I hold her down, or she's going to make another run at you. Something to remember, just because you're riding to someone's rescue doesn't mean they necessarily want to be rescued. Never turn your back on them, it'll get you killed." Kirby nodded his head sheepishly and cuffed the woman, who had started crying. MacKay patted Kirby on the shoulder. "You did good. Thanks for jumping on that guy before he used the pipe. You handled him well. In the future, just make sure you keep your eye out for other threats. Now, we're late for beers, and I told everyone I was buying the first couple rounds. Call PD, have them send a car over and take these two off our hands." "You got it, Mac."